Welcome back. We're flying to Canada as new immigrants. And with the power of video, we're now in Canada. Let me tell you exactly how the day went, the steps we followed, and the documents we needed. Let's begin. Hi, my name is Akash and welcome to my YouTube channel. Before I begin, let me give a disclaimer. Everything I talk about in this video is my story. I am not a professional in terms of immigration, and this is just me telling you about my experience. When I arrived at the airport at my home country, the only documents I needed were my passport and my visa stamped on the passport. Now, I am an Indian and I require a visa to enter Canada. When you got your COPR, you should have also received a stamped visa inside your passport. That's the only document you required in order to get the boarding pass. You show your passport along with the stamped visa at the airline counter. The airline officer, whatever airline you're taking, in my case it was Air Canada, would go through your visa, your passport. They would also ask for a pre-filled arrive canned receipt. You should have already done this step. After showing these three documents, the visa is already in the passport. So 2 documents, your arrive canned receipt and your passport, you should be given your boarding pass. That's it. After anything and everything after this point is basically regular flying. Tim Hortons, you gotta come to Canada and try Tim Hortons. It's regular coffee. I mean, I don't know what the hype is about, but it's good coffee. After landing in Canada, you basically walk your way through immigration. Now, right before immigration, there are these kiosks. At those kiosks, you will fill up the CBSA declaration. There are a lot of kiosks and the waiting time at maximum is like 2 minutes for the kiosks. The kiosk would ask you very simple questions and take a picture of you and then give you a receipt with a number on it. Based on that number, the airport security will then guide you into the different zones that exist. So there is a different zone for the actual citizens, there's a different zone for existing PR card holders, and for us, or like for me, in this case, I'm a new Canadian immigrant, so I had to go to a different zone. The security officer would then guide you to the new zone. There are different immigration counters, so they would take you to the place where you would need to stand in queue.
2 hours later.
After standing in queue for about 2 hours, this is when you would meet the immigration officer. The immigration officer would then ask you for 3 documents: your passport, the 2 copies of the COPR, and the CBSA declaration form, right? Once you give them these 3 things, they would ask you a few questions. First question that I was asked was basically, have you committed any crimes in any countries that you've ever lived in? To which your answer would hopefully be no. The next question that the CBSA officer asked me was, has there been a change in your circumstances? Which basically means, have you gotten married, divorced, have had kids, or anything else that you've not reported to the Canadian authorities. You should always report any change in circumstances to the IRCC before landing in Canada. Which means if you've had kids, if you've gotten married or gotten divorced, these are changes which you need to report before you land in Canada. Again, my answer was no, my circumstances have not changed. The last question that the CBSA officer asked me was basically, are you carrying any cash? In this case, I was carrying cash, so I told the amounts in USD since I was carrying USD and the equivalent Canadian dollars. Just as an example, I was carrying $10, let's say. So I said 10 US dollars and then I converted it to Canadian. I had already done the math, which basically means 13 Canadian dollars. After this, the immigration officer asked me where would I want my PR cards to be delivered or where I'm staying. After I had given my address, which I had written down, and given it to the officer, it made life for the officer easier and mine as well. I was asked to take a seat at the back of immigration. So there were like a couple of chairs and I was asked to go and sit there. I went there, sat there for about 5 minutes. Then the immigration officer called me and asked me to sign my COPRs. Now I saw that the officer had already signed my COPRs and they had already stamped my passport. It's important you sign the COPR in front of the immigration officer and not beforehand. After you've signed the COPRs, the officer would say, welcome to Canada. At this point, you are a permanent resident. Now, let's talk about one more additional step that I followed. I basically had a goods to follow document with me. So I went downstairs to the baggage claim. My baggage was going round and round on the belt for about 2 hours at this point. So I collected my bags. At customs, the customs officer asked me, hey, are you carrying anything you're not supposed to? To which again, hopefully your answer is no. I mean, you have already filled in the CBSA declaration, so that should tell the officer basically what you're carrying with you. I did tell the officer, hey, I have a goods to follow document. He said, all right. He took me to a different queue then. There were about 2 people in line before me. I went into the queue, showed the goods to follow document to the immigration officer, and then he signed and stamped that document. After that, I headed out of the airport, took the Union Pearson Express train from Toronto Pearson to downtown Toronto, and checked into my hotel. That was it. That was all the steps that I followed. If you have any more questions, you can leave them in the comments section below, and I will try to answer as many as I can. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and I'll see you in the next one.